Hello guys! In this video I will showcase all the properties and uses of the tank cannon unit of the Rural Villages mod. But first, as the usual summary, I am going to show you the in-game book guide about the tank, so you can easily pause to read or skip this part. I changed a point in the mod since the last video. Guards that are turned into a tank now no longer preserve their armor when turning back. This is because there is a Minecraft bug that prevents the correct execution of the combat AI using that system. So to make for this change, now guards always drop their equipment when transforming, and even when dying they now drop any custom armor or shield you may have given to them. So now everyone will be happy, since this was one of the biggest complaints in the Village Guards video. The patched version is already available via LootLabs links. It will be available next week in MCPEDL site, and the in-game guides will be updated for that time. Being the tank a powerful and high-end unit, crafting it doesn't come cheap. To make one tank, we first need to craft 3 heavy ammo, which is a block crafted from 8 TNT and 1 copper block. Note that in this mod TNT is more expensive, requiring 8 gunpowder and 1 copper ingot to craft one. Also for our tank we need 3 256 EMC, which is a highly compressed form of processed materials obtained with the manufacturing system we have introduced in the village controller video. So to make a tank, a player must first invest into his industrial capacity. And finally, the last ingredients for our tank recipe are 3 full iron blocks. This will give us the tank equipment item that then we can use on one of our tame guards to turn it into a tank. Now that we crafted and obtained all the ingredients, we can make our tank equipment. Since we have the tank equipment, now we require a tame guard to turn into a tank. Let's show the complete process by enlisting a guard among the villagers, then taming it and finally turning it into a tank. And here is our tank. Note that the guard is still the same. He is just inside the tank using it. In fact, if this guard had a name, his name would have remained the same. But because of the bug I mentioned earlier, he has to drop his equipment when turning into a tank. You can collect and store his dropped armor. You can kill your own tank using a wooden hoe, because, as the owner, you can't damage it by friendly fire. You can turn the tank into a villager by interacting with an iron hoe while sneaking. By doing so, you get back the tank equipment item to use it on another guard. Let's enlist and tame another guard so we can remake the tank. This time I will give to my tame guard a custom armor to show that they will drop it back when turning into a tank. As you can see, turning into a tank, he dropped the equipped armor. I can then take this armor and store in the tank inventory if I want, so I can give the armor back to my guard when turning the tank back into a guard. To turn a tank back into a guard, you have to interact with an iron shovel while sneaking, and the tank must have at least 5% of its fuel level. This is because of balance reasons, so you can't abuse this feature to quickly unpack and repack your tanks bypassing their intended fuel consumption. As you can see, When a tank is turned back into a guard, this guard will not have any armor equipped, except for the helmet, but you can give him back the armor he dropped on transformation, if you stored it. I suggest to store his armor in the tank inventory, because the tank, like the guard, has a 5 slots inventory accessible only to the owner. But let's turn the guard back into a tank once more, so we can focus on this powerful unit. Again, as you can see, you can collect the armor dropped by the guard on transformation, and store it in the tank inventory. Like all the mechanical units in this mod, the tank has the standard light gray color, but you can change it using any vanilla dye of the color you like. For example, I like darker gray for my tank, so I will paint it so. In the village controller video, I explained how a player is assigned a team and how he can change it. Once a player is in a team, he can also assign his current team to his tanks by interacting with any banner without sneaking. Once a tank is assigned to a team, it will have some decals of the color of its team. You can remove any team from a tank by interacting with any banner while sneaking. Note that tanks in no team are considered neutral and will not participate in faction wars, but they will defend your base from monsters and griefing players. While a tank in a team will target any other player and his army that are in a different team color. You can spend a copper block to give a temporary resistance effect that lasts for 10 minutes to your tank. This could be useful in combat situations. Tanks, unlike the village guards, will not regenerate their health once damaged, so you will have to spend iron ingots to repair them. Like the iron golem, a damaged tank will show increasingly larger cracks in its textures. By the way, the bloody rain is stalking me every time in my videos. Like now, you hear the tank targeting monsters that are spawning because of the rain. Anyway, returning to the topic, a tank shows 3-bar gauges in its textures, gauges that are visible in the rear of the tank and in the turret frontal display. They are important because they show the current tank fuel level, damage warnings, and the ammo level. You can refuel your tanks by interacting with coal that refuel 5% of the level, and coal blocks that refuel half of the fuel. Note that you can't over-refill your tank, so you can't refuel with a coal block if the fuel level is much more than half. Note how the fuel bar gauge shows a yellow dot in the turret display, because I refilled only 5% of the tank fuel. Under that fuel gauge there is a gray bar that only shows alarms when the tank is damaged, and under it there is another gray bar that is the ammo level. See how the fuel level rises each time you refill it using coal. A tank requires 20 coal or 2 coal blocks for total refuel from 0. You can then restock the tank ammo using TNT or heavy ammo. Note that TNT loads only 1 ammo each, while the heavy ammo block loads 10 shots, which is the maximum loaded capacity of the tank. As you saw, the ammo level is shown as a magenta gauge. Note that the ammo level is required only for manual player shooting, otherwise the tank doesn't require ammo for targeting enemies by itself. Unlike the village guard, a tank has only 2 modes, holding position or following the owner. To switch between those modes you interact with a torch, but be aware that the tank to move and then be in follow owner mode requires fuel. Also, while in following owner mode, the tank consumes fuel, as you will see in time if you focus on the fuel level gauge in this tank. Level gauge now. It's not completely filled anymore. A yellow dot is visible. If the following tank consumes all its fuel, it will automatically switch into hold position mode, unable to move until refueling. Like the village guard, the tank is tempted by a torch to fine control its movements, but like the guards, if they are currently engaging a hostile, they ignore the torch to focus on the attack. The only command that overrides an engaging stance is to follow the owner when he gets far, because, like the village guards, when following the owner they have to stay within 10 blocks from the owner. I am sick of this rain. Let me change it into clear weather for the video. Anyway, as you can see, you can ride the tank. While the tank is in hold position mode, which by the way is signaled by its tracks being put under the main body, it can target enemies independently, as you are not currently driving it, but if you switch to follow mode interacting with a torch, and you ride the tank, you can control the vehicle like you would control an horse. But this is no horse, this is a war machine, and as such you can manually shoot its cannon by using a spyglass to calculate the targeting parameters. So let's go doing some targeting fire practice. The first thing you have to know is that the cannon will fire once you have released the spyglass after aiming, and the longer your aim, the higher will be the shooting range. So targeting with the spyglass behaves almost like using a bow, but this is more precise at long range and it's more difficult to use if the target is too close. Note how, when manually firing, the magenta ammo level decreases. The tank has 10 shots in its magazine before needing to reload. You can reload anytime with TNT, each of which will add a shot. The player tank shot is a very powerful projectile that kills almost any not armored target in one shot. It also breaks blocks, but you require practicing with its firing ranges to get the best results when trying to demolish blocks. Note that this is the only canon and possible way to breach into land claimed by the village controller of other players, but we will talk about this in the video dedicated to team management. My scouts told me that an enemy pillager tank was sighted not far from this village, near the beach close to the ancient portal ruins. Let's check it out. While we approach the target, I want to point out that while driving a tank in follow owner mode you have total control of it, and as such, the tank will not independently engage hostiles, only you can shoot using the spyglass and the ammo. But you can stop the tank and order it into hold position mode anytime, interacting with a torch. Here it is. Let's smoke it. We are still not in its combat range, but he is hiding behind that small sand hill. We have to get closer. While the player is riding a vehicle, it receives 90% less direct damage than usual, but it still receives normal fire damage. So a player in a tank is secure from direct projectile attacks that instead will damage the tank, but still has to protect himself from fire. That was easy. We smoked it. Still note how I came to this fight unprepared for fire damages. Tank's explosive shots usually set the point of impact on fire, so be mindful. Now I ordered the tank in hold position mode, interacting with a torch, so the tank can independently target hostiles. At the same time I can shoot from the tank using the spyglass, if the tank has ammo for it. Note that only the owner of the tank can shoot using its cannon while riding it. If you don't own the tank while riding, you are unable to shoot. Also note how there are some alarms shown in the bar under the fuel level gauge now, since the tank took some hits. The damages to the tank are also shown in its cracked textures that become larger the more damaged the tank is. As you can see now, the ammo magazine of the tank is empty and I am prompted to reload when trying to shoot, so I have to reload ammo using TNT or heavy ammo block. Proud of the shooting animations and effects I gave to the tank. Is one of my favorite late units I added to this mod. Some may think that a tank could seem out of place in a fantasy world like Minecraft, and indeed my first approach was to make a cannon model, but the more I tried to keep it low poly for mobile phones, the more I tried to give them actual gameplay uses and limitations, the more that unit started to resemble a tank, so I finally went for this design. The tank unit is essential in faction warfare, as it is the only method to breach into protected land, while granting the other players the ability to defend from it, as even neutral tanks recognize when a player could be a griefing threat and respond accordingly, but that we will treat in the team video guide that hopefully I will publish after making the video focusing on the multi-vehicle. In normal combat you can treat the tank like a more powerful guard that only have ranged attacks, but mind that, while it has 80 health points, it doesn't have any armor, so no damage reduction, and it suffers when hostiles get too close and engage it in melee. Also because shields can negate its projectile direct damage, but not the fire or explosion damages. Note how the tank is a completely amphibious unit, as it floats when on water with a custom animation, because its tracks transform into propeller drives and back into tracks when landing. Now let's wait for the day, because I want to show you yet another interaction you can have. If you are riding a tank and you have other tanks following, you can leash your current tank and all the tanks nearby. If they are not currently engaging a target, will try to get behind you and move with you in an orderly fashion, like the llama caravans. This is just a small and aesthetic feature, nothing fancy, but I thought it could be nice. Waiting for better script methods I may add in the future to give your army units proper formations and better command UI. Notice how the tanks broke formation when targeting a drown. By the way, tanks, unlike village guards, are not good against underwater rods because their projectile is not precise and does not travel far in water. Minecraft handling of entity movements is often sluggish, and many times the engines will teleport the following entities instead of giving them full pathing to conserve processing resources. So movement, especially when commanding a large army, can be sometimes not immersive. I hope to resolve this with script methods in the future updates, but that is not priority now, because I am focusing on balancing, bug fixing, and adding new units. For the last part of this video, I want to show you another feature, but to do this we have to invade the Nether. Survival chances of tanks are higher than guards in the Nether. As a player, you can feel protected when riding a tank. Just make sure to be prepared for fire damage. A great feature of the tank is that it doesn't suffer from full damage, and it can allow you to traverse lava seas, like a strider. But be aware that entering and exiting a lava sea requires a gentle touch, so that you do not risk to enter in contact with lava. Be aware that flowing lava is dangerous, and even if the tank can protect you from still lava, it will not protect you from flowing lava. Some enemies in the Nether do not directly engage the tanks, but since all monsters are targeted by tanks and guards, they will respond to aggression. Let's try to enter in the lava sea and see how it goes. It works good and reliably enough. Let's do some practicing fire tests. As I have said, suffer when the hostile get too close in melee range. For example, these magma cubes damages the tanks quite a bit, even with all the tank's firepower, because they got too close. You can now appreciate the damage textures of the tank. They can even show worse. This is about half health points. And that's it for the tank unit. I hope you have found this video guide informative and useful. As always, feel free to comment, presenting your ideas and opinions, and follow me to remain up to date with the development of this mod. The newest patch of this add-on is available already with the LootLabs links in the description, while the MCPEDL mod page will be updated next week. See you in the next video.